8:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here is the news edited by Lal Malbarachi and read by Indrani Senanayake. The headlines. A 5-member committee appointed to probe Mahara unrest. Minuwangoda Palyagoda COVID-19 cluster exceeds 20,000. Dr. Sudarshani Fernandopoulos sworn in as Infectious Diseases and COVID-19 Prevention State Minister. The second report of the Government Finance Committee regarding budget proposals will be presented in Parliament on Wednesday. News from overseas. England's COVID-19 infections down 30% during national lockdown survey. Minister of Justice Ali Sabri has appointed a 5-member committee to probe the unrest that broke out at the Mahara prison yesterday. The committee is tasked with compiling an investigative report. The committee will be chaired by retired High Court Judge Kusala Sarojini Veeravardhana. The committee is due to look into the reasons behind the unrest, while recommendations pertaining to preventing such incidents in future is due to be submitted. The Justice Minister said the committee is expected to submit an interim report in a week and a report containing recommendations of short and long-term measures within a month. The committee comprises of President's Counsel, Attorney U.R. De Silva, Additional Secretary to the Justice Ministry Rohana Hapugaswatta, DIG Ajit Rohana, and former Prisons Commissioner Gamini Jayasinghe. 178 COVID-19 positive cases reported today. The total number of COVID-19 positive cases reported from the Minuwangoda garment factory, employees and the Palyagoda fish market cluster has exceeded the 20,000 mark. Accordingly, the total count from the two clusters rises to 20,124. Dr. Sudarshani Fernandopoulos has taken oaths as a State Minister for Primary Health Services, Infectious Diseases and COVID-19 Prevention. She has been serving as a State Minister of Prison Reforms, Prisoners' Rehabilitation since April 2020. Fernandopoulos was sworn in to her new State Ministry post before President Gotabaya Rajapaksa today. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The second report of the Government's Finance Committee regarding the budget proposals will be presented in Parliament on Wednesday. The report clarifies whether the budget proposals go in line with the government's development policies. The Government's Finance Committee, headed by parliamentarian Anura Priyadarshana met today to discuss the final report. The other members of the committee are State Minister Susil Premajayant and parliamentarian Dr. Harsha De Silva, Dilan Pereira and Isuru Dodangoda. State Minister Susil Premajayant says the major reasons for the unrest in the Mahara prison is a prolonged congestion of inmates in prisons. At a press briefing held in Colombo today, he said facilities should be given to prisons. A separate state ministry has been established to solve the existing problems in prisons. Joining the press briefing, Minister C.B. Ratnayake said that the government has also taken measures to increase the forest cover in Sri Lanka. It is now at 29.2% of the entire land area. The government's aim is to increase it up to 32% during the next few years. Next, we take a look at the main news story.
A mother knows the pain of each member of the family. Siddha Lepa, the trusted relief for aches and pains.
An effective therapy for relief from cold, sneezing, flu, headaches, swelling due to toothaches, rheumatic, discomforts, and muscular aches and pains. Siddha Lepa, the Vidya Mahatmya in every home.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddha Lepa Veda Mahatmya.
Following the detection of 40 COVID-19 positive cases so far, the Akkarai-Pattu Police Division has been declared an isolated area until further notice since the 26th of November. Meanwhile, the results of another 141 PCR tests are yet to be released. Security in the area has been further strengthened to prevent the spread of the disease. All schools in the Akkarai-Pattu police area have remained closed since last Thursday. Meanwhile, the mayor of Akkarai-Pattu, Ataullah Ahmed Zaki, and medical officer of Akkarai-Pattu, Dr. Farusa Nakfar, jointly appealed to the public to follow the guidelines of the health department. They request the residents to not come out of their houses unnecessarily. That was the main news story. Watchlight is next.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya. Brush your teeth twice a day for healthy teeth and gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, your trusted brands in oral care for many years.
Supiriviki Ayurvedic toothpaste for adults. Kakulu Ayurvedic toothpaste for kids. 9 Ayurvedic ingredients of Supiriviki will protect your teeth and strengthen your gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, products from Siddhalepa.
We now take a look at Watchlight. The Sri Lanka Public Health Inspectors Union has warned of environmental pollution if the public does not responsibly and correctly dispose of their used face masks. Union Chairman Upul Rohana stressed that face masks were thrown on roads and pavements, giving rise to environmental pollution. He also called for an efficient disposal program to be introduced, as burning trash is not sustainable. That came to you in Watchlight. A bulletin of world news will follow. We take a look at the headlines. England's COVID-19 infections down 30% during national lockdown survey. Iran says Israel remotely killed military nuclear scientist. Uproar in France over proposed limits on filming police. COVID-19 infections have fallen by 30% during England's month-long national lockdown, and the virus is now in retreat. A large-scale study of more than 100,000 volunteers showed today. England began its second national lockdown on the 5th of November to curb a rapidly rising infectious and protect its health system. The country is due to return to a regional approach to restrictions on the 2nd of December. Levels of infection fell 30%, with 96 people per 10,000 infected between the 13th and 24th of November, according to interim results of the study by Imperial College London and Ipsos Mori. A top Iranian security official today accused Israel of using electronic devices to remotely kill a scientist who founded the Islamic Republic's military nuclear program in the 2000s. Ali Shamkhani, the secretary to the country's Supreme National Security Council, made the comment at the funeral of Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, where Iran's defense minister separately vowed to continue the man's work with more speed and more power. French activists fear that a proposed new security law will deprive them of a potent weapon against abuse. Cell phone videos of police activity threatening their efforts to document possible cases of police brutality, especially in impoverished immigrant neighborhoods. French President Emmanuel Macron's government is pushing a new security bill that makes it illegal to publish images of police officers with intent to cause them harm, amid other measures. Critics fear the new law could hurt press freedoms and make it more difficult for all citizens to report on police brutality. To end this bulletin of world news, we take a look at the headlines again. England's COVID-19 infections down 30% during national lockdown survey. Iran says Israel remotely killed military nuclear scientist. Uproar in France over proposed limits on filming police. That ends this bulletin of world news. Next, we take a look at development news. All arrangements have been made to commence 264 projects in the country by next year to provide a continuous and satisfactory water supply to consumers. This was disclosed at the Ministerial Consultative Committee on Water Supply. The ministry has thus planned to launch one part of the project in 2021 and the other in the year 2022. Addressing the Ministerial Consultative Committee on Water Supply, chaired by Minister of Water Supply Vasudeva Nanayakkara, Secretary of the Ministry of Water Supply Dr. Priyatbandu Vikrama stated that he hopes to increase the water supply coverage in the country from the current 40% to 78%. That was development news. Next, we take a look at sports news. The Women's Rugby World Cup will extend from 12 to 16 teams from 2025. The news follows increasing calls for the event to be expanded, with women and girls now accounting for 28% of the global playing population. Since 2006, there have been 12 teams split into 3 pools, including the upcoming 2021 Rugby World Cup in New Zealand. World Rugby Chairman Bill Beaumont called the decision a milestone moment for the women's game. The decision comes too late for the 2021 Rugby World Cup, which has already staged its pool draw. That was a look at sports news. Business news is next. Brantel Lanka Private Limited has been awarded Top PV Supplier in Sri Lanka 2020 certification in the wholesale category by Joint Forces for Solar Global, the leading certification body within the global solar and energy storage industries. The certification is powered by the Bonn-headquartered EUPD Research and global expert in primary database research and consulting services. The 2020 awards followed company assessments and end customer surveys across 73 global energy transition markets, with engineering, procurement and construction customers and project developers as stakeholders. That was business news. Up next is economic news.
Economic news, courtesy of...
Congratulations on your promotion. When will be our treat, huh?
How about today?
Oh no, I was just joking.
It's fine. I have my LOLC credit card with me. Let's go out today.
Introducing LOLC Finance Credit Cards. Fuel the goodness in you.
On to economic news. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka issued amendments to the Circular Number 11 of 2020 on debt moratorium for COVID-19 affected businesses and individuals. Accordingly, the CBSL announced that the deadline for the submission of requests by eligible borrowers to avail the concession has been extended until the 10th of December 2020. The central bank said non-bank financial institutions are required to finalize the decision and communicate the decision, grant, deny, in writing to the applicant within 45 days of submitting the request. That was a look at economic news. Finally, we have the weather report coming up.
Hello, Buddha. Did you land already?
We're in transit and our flight got delayed.
How is Shani? Poor thing with her pregnancy.
Calm down, everything is sorted. Why, I have my LOLC World Card with me. We are at the VIP lounge.
LOLC Finance Credit Cards. Fuel the goodness in you.
Finally, the weather report. The Met Department says the low-pressure area in the southeast Bay of Bengal is likely to intensify into a depression during the next 24 hours and is likely to intensify further. This system is likely to move nearly west-northwestwards to the north coast of Sri Lanka. It will affect the weather over the island and surrounding sea areas during the next few days. Several spells of showers will occur at several places in the northern, north-central, eastern and Uva provinces. Showers or thundershowers will occur in the western, central and Sabaragamuwa provinces and in the Galle and Mathura districts. Fairly heavy falls, about 50 millimeters, are likely at some places. Fairly strong gusty winds up to 40 kilometers per hour can be expected in the northern, north central, eastern and northwestern provinces. Well, that was a look at the weather report. To end tonight's news broadcast, we take a look at the headlines again. A 5-member committee appointed to probe Mahara unrest. Minuwangoda Paliagoda COVID-19 cluster exceeds 20,000. Dr. Sudarshani Fernandopulle sworn in as Infectious Diseases and COVID-19 Prevention State Minister. The second report of the government's Finance Committee regarding budget proposals will be presented in Parliament on Wednesday. News from overseas. England's COVID-19 infections down 30% during national lockdown survey.